Hey guys, how's everybody doing with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out in theaters next week on Wednesday? I've decided to review the previous 6 Mission Impossible movies leading up to it. My positives on Mission Impossible is the theme in this movie, and the theme song continued throughout the franchise, and the theme song used in the TV series. Yes, this is based off a TV series. A lot of people didn't know that. I'm included. It's a show from the 70s. How the fuck did a 70s show turn into almost an 8 movie franchise? Why are you asking me? I don't know answers. Leave me alone. Anyway, the theme song in this movie is awesome. It's very catchy, it's very memorable, it's used in a lot of other movies, it's one of the most iconic movie scores out there, and I am very glad to hear that it does in fact continue throughout the franchise. Yes, these are first time watches for me. If you don't like that, that's all I gotta say to you. And yeah, it's a very catchy theme. I also found it very interesting that Danny Elfman composed the score. He's a very talented composer. He's composed a lot of very, very, very lovable music, especially the Batman theme. And he's for the Batman '89 movie, very good there. And he's continued his career with a lot of other great music scores, but this is up there with being his best. It's very cool. I am glad to hear that he did in fact take inspiration from the '70s TV show because he felt that he couldn't really recreate it. He said that he just took certain composes from the TV series, which I really liked. It's a very catchy score. It's a score that is one of the most memorable ones out there. It's like I said, it's very catchy and it makes you feel badass. Bah, 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 bah. Wow, 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 wow. Really like the cast in this movie. Sure, not much of the actors in here are very memorable, but we have to talk about the greatest stuntman in the world, apparently, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is a very talented actor. I've always really liked the movies that he's done, and a few of the movies that I will admit, a lot of movies that he has done are very bad. The Mummy, uh, but he's a very talented actor. He's a very great stuntman, and this is probably his most memorable role, if not Maverick from Top Gun. Oh god, what's going on with my hair? There we go. I fixed it. I don't know what happened. Oh god. Look at that. Look at that. This is the worst part about being having long hair. Not my hair. Tom Cruise is a very great stuntman. He doesn't pull off many stunts in this movie as I thought he would, but he does a decent amount, what I think. Another standout in this movie is Ving Rhames. I know him from Pulp Fiction and Dawn of the Dead remake, and I think that's it. He's another pretty good actor, and here's a very memorable character in this movie where after an incident happening with Ethan's original team. A bunch of shit went down, so he has to assemble a new crew, and he's part of it. He's a very nice addition. I really like him in this movie. He's also just a very talented actor, so of course he's gonna be good in it. And he also got like that Josh Whedon character or something, guy in here from Transformers or something like that, where he's kind of like the boss in the beginning of the movie. I forget his name. I think it's like Josh Whedon or something like that. He's pretty good in here too. He doesn't have much to do because he has a very short role, but I feel he does a pretty good job too. I really like the cast. It's very decent. It's not the most memorable cast, and I've heard the cast gets better as it goes on, but yeah, decent cast. Very memorable. Really like Brian De Palma's direction that he takes here. If you don't know who Brian De Palma is, what rock are you living under right now? He is the director of the remake of Scarface, which is probably one of the most memorable movies of all time. He also directed the original Carrie that came out in 1976, not 96. Not a big fan of that movie, but I really like the direction he takes this. I was a bit surprised to see his name come up as the director. I did not think of him of all people he would be the director of this movie because I was really surprised by that. But I like the direction he takes this movie. It's very you can tell it's him directing it once you see his name and you're like, oh yeah, this is a Brian De Palma movie for sure. I like the direction he takes it. He's a very memorable director. He's a very great director. He's directed a lot of classics, and not his most memorable movie by all means, but it's a good movie. I like the direction he takes it. Talk about the classic scene in this movie where Tom Cruise is on a zip line and he has to grab like data off a disc, and he goes on a zip line and he's just hanging there. That whole scene, it's very suspenseful. Like apparently in the scenes, like that whole room is like very secure. Even but a whisper alarm will go off, and he has to be very quiet and very steady. And he almost gets dropped down, and a bunch of sweat is like coming like dripping off his glasses, and he has to catch it. That's very I just want to applaud that the fact that he can catch sweat with just like his hand just reaching out. I mean, I imagine you can do it, but I just want to applaud him for that. That's a very suspenseful scene, and it's also a very memorable scene. Probably the most memorable scene in this in the entire franchise, and probably the most referenced because it's Mission Impossible. I always think back to South Park every time they make fun of it when they're saving the cattle. Uh, South Park. They're gonna make fun of everything. It's a very suspenseful scene. It's a very great scene. It's a very memorable scene, and the performance by Tom Cruise to be able to hang down like that was is very impressive. Because I've seen people on YouTube do that, and it looks hard, and they look pretty miserable the entire time they do it. So I applaud Tom Cruise for being able to do that. Man's very committed to his roles. Moving on to my negatives. Now these are kind of short negatives. They're not like a huge thing that bother me too much. But I feel that some of the effects in this movie don't age well. When I mean like effects, like I really mean by when he takes off like the person's face off, like when he wears like a decoy of it, like that's also very memorable in this franchise where he wears like a face of someone who he isn't, then he has to rip off, shows it's him. I mean, that's very memorable, but the effects there and the look of the mask and the way he rips it off, I couldn't help but laugh. Every time he did that, I got a pretty good chuckle out of it. Like it just looked goofy. Like when he would pull it off, you would see like the entire mask. Like it just looks, it just looks goddamn goofy, dude. Like what are we doing? Oh, and how did this come so popular? It looks so bad. Like in today's standards, that just it looks bad. And I also kind of want to talk about green screen effects. This could be a mixed aspect, but at the same time, I understand it. Like green screen effects in here, they're not very good either. But I understand for the 90s. This came out in 1996, so I understand for the effects then. But could get some touches done here and there nowadays. But it's a movie that came out in 96. You can't change it now. Some of the effects don't really hold up much, but like I said, for a 1996 movie, it's fine. I'm not gonna spoil this for anyone who hasn't seen this movie. There's a twist in this movie, like in the openings. Shit goes down and everything gets messed up, and so there's a twist in this movie about who messed it all up and everything. And and then when it's revealed who did it and how it went down, I found it just obvious. like I like the second it all happened, I'm like, I think it was that dude who messed it up. I feel it was him, and it was. They try to play off a red herring that it was these guys that planned it and did it, but I was like, no, you're not. You guys aren't capable of doing that. And especially one part where this part happens, like when he gets shot. I was like, that guy just looks like he's doing it himself. What is he doing? And I mean, there's a part in this movie where this lady says she survived a car explosion in this movie, where she said that she jumped out of the car before it exploded. I call bull because the range of that explosion. Apparently you have to start the car too. Like the second you start the car, it explodes. Yeah. How did you start the car and then jump out before it exploded? That's all I wanted to know. That's how I knew it was instantly um her or the not her, Jesus, one of them. Anyways, I was like, how do you wouldn't be able to survive that? But hey, continuity. I just found the twist plainly obvious. It bothered me, and it's not the worst twist in the world, but I could you could write it better. Guys, I really enjoyed this movie. This was a fun Mission Impossible movie. I've heard the franchise gets better from here, from what I've heard. And I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued to where this all goes and where all these characters go and all the journeys they go. So maybe my thoughts will change drastically as I go on. But as of right now, as recording this video and just watching these franchises for the first time, I would say to go out and buy it. What do you guys think of Mission Impossible? Is this one of your favorite movies of all time? Do you enjoy this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and if you've seen the rest of these movies, please let me know what I'm in for the comments in the comments below, and I will hopefully get some positive stuff. But if you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. But until my next video, take care.